The coffee maker was broken again. Kim Nari stared at the ancient machine in the crew mess hall of the cargo freighter. Silent dawn, brown liquid dripped slowly from a crack in the heating unit, forming a small puddle on the metal floor. She sighed and reached for her tool bag. "Hey, fix girl," called out Lee Tiemann from across the room. He was the ship's navigator, a thin man with tired eyes who never bothered to learn her real name. "Make it work faster this time. I need my morning fuel." Nari said nothing. She never said much to anyone on this ship. She pulled out her plasma welder and began working on the broken part. The other crew members talked around her like she was not there. To them, she was just the maintenance worker. The person who fixed things when they broke, Captain Yoon Dae-ho, walked into the mess hall. He was a big man with gray hair and a permanent frown. He looked at Nari working on the coffee maker and shook his head. "We should just buy a new one," he said to nobody in particular. "This old junk breaks down every week." "New coffee makers cost money," said Park Ji-won, the ship's doctor. She was younger than the captain, but just as tired of space travel. "At least Nari can fix this one for free." The captain grunted and walked away. He had never spoken directly to Nari in the 8 months she had worked on his ship. She was hired at Kepler Station as emergency crew when their last engineer quit without notice. She had no papers, no references, and asked for very little pay. For Captain Yoon, that made her perfect. Nari finished welding the crack and tested the machine. Hot coffee began to flow into the pot below. The rich smell filled the mess hall. Tiemann clapped his hands. "See? The fix girl does good work," he said with a laugh. Nari cleaned up her tools and left the mess hall. She walked through the narrow corridors of the silent dawn to her small cabin. The ship was old, built 40 years ago, when humans first started trading with alien species. Everything creaked and groaned as it moved through space, but her cabin was tiny. Just a bed, a small desk, and a storage locker. She had few personal things. A change of clothes, some basic tools, and a small photo of Earth that came with the room. She sat on her bed and looked out the small window at the stars. 3 years ago, her life had been very different. 3 years ago, people knew her name. They feared it too. But that was before everything went wrong. Before she decided to disappear, now she was nobody. Kim Nari, maintenance engineer. The woman who fixed broken things and stayed quiet. It was exactly what she wanted. The ship's communication system crackled to life. Captain Yoon's voice echoed through the corridors. "All crew to stations. We are approaching the Kepler Station supply run. Dock time in 2 hours." Nari put on her work jumpsuit and headed to the engine room. The silent dawn carried basic supplies to outer rim colonies. Food, medicine, tools, and other things people needed to survive in deep space. It was boring work, but boring was safe. The engine room was hot and noisy. 3 massive fusion engines pushed the ship through space at faster than light speed. Nari checked all the systems carefully. Temperature levels, power output, fuel consumption. Everything looked normal. She heard footsteps behind her. Park Ji-won entered the engine room carrying her medical bag. "How are the engines today?" the doctor asked. "Running fine," Nari replied. She did not look up from her work. "You know, you have been on this ship for 8 months, and I still know nothing about you," Ji-won said. She sat down on a supply crate. "Where did you learn to fix engines so well?" Nari continued checking the systems, here and there. "That is not really an answer," Ji-won said with a small smile. "Come on, we are all stuck on this ship together. You can talk to me." "Not much to talk about," Nari said quietly. Ji-won studied her for a moment. The maintenance worker was small and thin, maybe 30 years old. She had short black hair and dark eyes that seemed older than her face. Her hands moved with practiced skill over the engine controls, like she had been doing this work her whole life. "You were military, were not you?" Ji-won asked suddenly. Nari's hands stopped moving for just a second. Then she continued her work. "What makes you think that? The way you stand. The way you move." "My brother was in the Defense Corps. You have the same look he had." "Maybe I just watch a lot of military shows," Nari said. Ji-won laughed. "Maybe, but I do not think so." The doctor left the engine room. But her words stayed with Nari. She tried not to think about her past, but sometimes it came back anyway. Dreams of battlefields and burning ships, the screams of enemies who thought they were safe, the weight of decisions that cost thousands of lives. She shook her head and focused on her work. That person was gone, dead and buried in classified files. Now she was just Kim Nari, the woman who fixed coffee makers and kept quiet. The ship dropped out of faster-than-light speed near Kepler Station. Through the engine room windows, Nari could see the mining colony spinning slowly in space. It was built into a large asteroid with docking bays and living areas carved deep into the rock. Thousands of people lived there, digging valuable metals from the asteroid's core. "Docking in 30 minutes, came the captain's voice over the communication system. Nari finished her engine checks and headed to the cargo bay. The Silent Dawn carried medical supplies and fresh food for the colony. It was routine work, loading and unloading cargo. Nothing dangerous or exciting, but as she walked through the ship's corridors, something felt wrong. She could not explain it, but her instincts were telling her to be careful. After 3 years of quiet life, those old feelings were coming back. She tried to ignore them. There was no danger here. Just another boring supply run to another boring colony. She was nobody now, and nobody was exactly what she wanted to be. The ship docked with Kepler Station with a soft bump. Through the hull, she could hear the sounds of the busy colony. Soon they would unload their cargo and head back into space. Just another day in her unremarkable life, but deep in her mind, old training was waking up. And Kim Nari, who had once been something very different, began to pay attention to the shadows. The distress signal came 3 hours after they left Kepler Station. Nari was in the engine room when the ship's communication system started beeping. She heard Captain Yoon's heavy footsteps running toward the bridge. Then his voice echoed through. "The ship, all crew to bridge stations. Emergency signal detected." Nari wiped her hands on a cloth and headed to the bridge. The other crew members were already there. Lee Tiemann sat at his navigation console, his fingers dancing over the controls. Park Ji-won stood behind the captain's chair, looking worried. "What do we have?" Captain Yoon asked. "Confederation research vessel," Tiemann said, reading from the screen. "Ship name is Deep Explorer. They are about 2 hours away at full speed." "Any details on the emergency?" asked Ji-won. Tiemann shook his head. "Just the standard distress code. Could be engine failure, could be medical emergency. The signal is weak." Captain Yoon rubbed his chin. Nari could see him thinking about money. Salvage rights on abandoned ships could be worth a lot of credits, but rescue missions were dangerous and paid nothing. "Captain," Nari said quietly, "we should report this to the nearest Defense Corps station and continue our route." Everyone turned to look at her. She rarely spoke on the bridge. Captain Yoon frowned. "Since when do you give orders on my ship?" he asked. "I am not giving orders," Nari replied calmly. "You're suggesting we be careful. Careful does not pay the bills," the captain said. Tiemann set course for the research ship, full speed. Nari felt a cold feeling in her stomach. Her old instincts were screaming that something was wrong. But she was nobody now, just the maintenance worker. Her opinion did not matter. The Silent Dawn changed course and accelerated toward the distress signal. Nari returned to the engine room to monitor the systems. The old fusion engines were working hard, pushing the ship faster than usual. She watched the temperature readings climb. 2 hours later, they found the Deep Explorer. The research vessel was much larger than their cargo ship. It had the sleek design of Confederation technology, with smooth white hull plating and advanced sensor arrays. But something was wrong with it. Dark scorch marks covered one side of the ship, and several hull breaches were visible. "Looks like they had a fight with someone," Tiemann said over the communication system. Captain Yoon ordered the ships to dock. The crew put on their emergency suits and prepared to board the damaged vessel. Nari followed them, carrying her repair tools. The inside of the Deep Explorer was dark and cold. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the walls. They found the survivors in the main laboratory, huddled around a small heater. There were 5 of them. 4 were human scientists, but the 5th was different. It had 6 legs, 4 arms, and a head that looked like a giant insect. Its skin was dark green and covered with small plates. When it spoke, its voice sounded like clicking metal. "Thank the stars you found us," said one of the human scientists. She was a middle-aged woman with gray hair. "I am Dr. Kim Soo-young, chief researcher. This is Dr. Kethver from the Confederation Science Council." The insect creature clicked its mandibles together. "We are grateful for your assistance," it said in perfect human language. "Though I confess surprise at finding a simple cargo vessel this far from normal trade routes." Captain Yoon puffed out his chest. "We heard your distress call and came to help." "That is what humans do." Nari noticed how the alien's large compound eyes studied each of them carefully. Its gaze lingered on her for a moment longer than the others. "What happened to your ship?" asked Park Ji-won. Dr. Soo-young's face became grim. "Vorthek raiders. 3 ships came out of nowhere and attacked us. We barely escaped." The word Vorthok made Nari's blood turn cold. She knew that name very well. The Vorthek Empire was one of the most dangerous alien species in known space. They conquered weaker races and used them as slaves. Their warriors were brutal and their technology was advanced. "Vorthek this far into Confederation space?" Captain Yoon asked. "That does not seem right." "They are getting bolder," Dr. Kethver clicked. "The peace treaty with your species has made them think humans are weak. They test boundaries now. We need to get out of here fast," Dr. Soo-young said. "The Vorthek ships were damaged in our fight, but they will return with reinforcements." Captain Yoon nodded. "We can take you to the nearest Confederation base. It will be crowded, but we can manage." As they prepared to evacuate the research ship, Nari studied the damage more carefully. The weapon burns on the hull were precise and deadly. This was not a random pirate attack. The Vorthak had come here looking for something specific, Dr. Soo-young, she said quietly. "What kind of research were you doing out here?" The scientist glanced at Dr. Kethver before answering. "Classified Confederation project. I cannot give details." Nari nodded, but her suspicions grew stronger. The Vorthak did not attack research ships for fun. They had wanted whatever was on this vessel. They transferred the survivors and their essential equipment to the Silent Dawn. Dr. Kethver brought several sealed containers that he guarded carefully. The alien scientist did not trust the human cargo crew. Nari could see it in his compound eyes. "Your ship is quite old," Dr. Kethver said to Captain Yoon as they prepared to leave. "I hope it can outrun Vorthak pursuit vessels." "She may be old, but she is fast," the captain replied proudly. As they undocked from the research ship, Nari returned to the engine room. She pushed the fusion engines to maximum safe power. Through the hull, she could feel the ship accelerating away from the damaged Confederation vessel, but her old training told her they were not moving fast enough. 20 minutes later, her fears came true. "Contact on sensors," Timon's voice crackled over the communication system. 3 ships approaching fast. They matched Vorthak configuration. In the engine room, Nari closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She had spent 3 years hiding from her past. 3 years being nobody. But the galaxy had other plans for her. The Vorthak were coming, and Captain Yoon was about to learn that not all humans were as harmless as they seemed. The hunt was about to begin. The first Vorthak ship appeared on the view screen like a metal shark. It was twice the size of the Silent Dawn, with dark gray armor and weapon ports that glowed red in the darkness of space. 2 more ships flanked it on either side, moving in perfect formation. "Oh no," Captain Yoon muttered as he stared at the approaching vessels. His hands shook as he gripped his chair. "Captain, they are demanding we stop engines and prepare to be boarded," Timon reported from his navigation station. His voice was high with fear. "What do we do?" asked Park Ji-won. In the engine room, Nari listened to their panic through the communication system. She had seen this before. Good people faced with impossible odds, freezing up when they needed to act. The Vorthak counted on that fear. "We surrender," Captain Yoon said finally. "We have no weapons, no shields. We cannot fight them." Dr. Suyang's voice came over the speakers from the passenger compartment. Captain, you do not understand. The Vorthak do not take prisoners. They take slaves. Then what choice do we have? The captain shouted back. Nari closed her eyes and made a decision she had hoped never to make again. She opened her storage locker and pulled out a small metal box hidden behind her spare clothes. Inside was something she had sworn never to touch. Again, a small device that looked like a simple wrist communicator, but it was much more than that. It was a Defense Corps field kit compressed into a tiny package. She had kept it as insurance, never thinking she would need it. She strapped the device to her wrist and activated it with her thumbprint. The device scanned her DNA and confirmed her identity. Then it began to unfold. Tiny nanobots flowed out of the device and spread over her body. In seconds, they had formed a thin layer of armor under her clothes. Her jumpsuit now contained enough technology to level a small building, but that was not the important part. The important part was what the device did to her mind. 3 years of memories came flooding back. Training sessions that lasted for days without sleep. Missions deep behind enemy lines. The screams of Vorthak warriors as their ships exploded around them. She remembered who she used to be, the Vorthak boarding. Ships attached to the Silent Dawn's hull with metallic thuds. Through the ship's cameras, Nari watched armed warriors cut through the outer doors with plasma torches. All crew to the mess hall, Captain Yoon ordered. We will surrender peacefully and hope they show mercy. Nari did not go to the mess hall. Instead, she moved through the ship's service tunnels like a shadow. The nanobots in her armor system mapped every corridor, every vent, every power conduit. In seconds, she knew the ship better than the captain who had flown it for 10 years. The first Vorthak warriors entered through the cargo bay. They were large creatures over 7 feet tall with thick gray skin and 4 arms. Each arm carried a different weapon. They moved in perfect formation, checking corners and covering each other professionally. Nari watched them through the ship's internal cameras. She counted 12 warriors in the first group. More would come soon. The warriors found the crew in the mess hall. Captain Yoon raised his hands in surrender. We give up, he said in a shaking voice. Please do not hurt anyone. The lead Vorthak warrior was bigger than the others. Scars covered his face and his armor was decorated with trophies from previous battles. When he spoke, his voice was deep and cruel. I am Commander Vexahal of the Vorthak Empire. You will tell me where the Confederation research data is located. We do not know anything about research data, Captain Yoon replied. We just rescued some survivors. Commander Vexahal backhanded the captain across the face. The human flew backward and hit the wall hard. Do not lie to me, human. We know what the research ship was carrying. You will give us the data, or we will take it from your dead bodies. Dr. Kethver stepped forward, his insect legs clicking on the metal floor. The research data was destroyed when our ship was attacked. There is nothing left to take. The Vorthak. Commander studied the alien scientist with cold eyes. Then you are all useless to us. We will sell the humans as slaves and use the insect for target practice. That was when the lights went out. Emergency lighting bathed the mess hall in red light. The Vorthak warriors raised their weapons, scanning for threats. But they found nothing. Engineering team report? Commander Vexahal spoke into his communicator. No answer came back. Boarding party. 2 status report. Still no answer. The Vorthak commander's eyes narrowed. He grabbed Captain Yoon by the throat and lifted him off the ground. What is happening to my warriors? He demanded. I do not know, the captain gasped. The ship systems must be malfunctioning. But Nari knew the systems were working perfectly. She had simply turned them into weapons. She moved through the service tunnels like a ghost, striking at the Vorthak warriors one by one. The second boarding party never knew what hit them. One moment they were searching the cargo bay, the next moment the artificial gravity failed and sent them floating helplessly into a trap of electrified cables. The engineering team died when she vented their section of the ship into space. 3. More warriors fell to explosive charges she had made from cleaning supplies and spare parts. The Vorthak were trained for ship-to-ship combat. not for hunting a single enemy through narrow passages. Their size and numbers meant nothing in the confined spaces of the cargo. Ship. Commander Vexahol began to understand he was not hunting helpless civilians anymore. "You have a soldier on this ship," he said to Captain Yoon. "Where is your warrior?" "Hiding? We do not have any soldiers," the captain replied truthfully. "Just cargo crew." The Vorthek commander looked at each human face carefully. His eyes passed over Dr. Su Yang, Park Ji-won, and Lee Timan. Then he noticed someone was missing. "Where is your maintenance worker?" he asked. "The small female." Captain Yoon's eyes went wide. For the first time he realized that Kim Nari was not in the mess hall with the rest of them. In the service tunnel above their heads, Nari smiled coldly. She had been invisible to her own crew for 8 months. Now she would show the Vorthek what invisible really meant. The hunt had begun, but the Vorthek were no longer the hunters. Commander Vexahol's remaining warriors were getting nervous. In the mess hall, the Vorthek leader paced back and forth like a caged animal. His communicator stayed silent. No reports came from his boarding teams. The red emergency lighting made his scarred face look even more frightening. "Sir," one of his warriors said quietly, "we should return to our ship and call for backup." "We do not run from humans," Vexahol snarled. But his 4 eyes kept looking at the ceiling, searching for threats. Captain Yoon sat on the floor, holding his bruised face. He kept looking around the room, counting the crew members. Timan, Ji-won, the rescued scientists. But no Nari. Where did she go? He whispered to himself. Dr. Kethver heard him. The insect scientist moved closer on his 6 legs. "Who are you talking about?" Kethver asked in his clicking voice. "Our maintenance worker. Kim Nari. She is not here." The alien's compound eyes focused on the captain. "Describe this Nari." "Small woman, black hair, very quiet. She fixes things." "Doctor." Kethver became very still. His mandibles clicked together rapidly, which meant he was thinking hard. "Captain," he said slowly, "what is her full name?" "Kim Nari. Why does it matter?" The alien scientist pulled out a small device from his equipment pack. It looked like a tablet computer, but with alien symbols on the screen. His 4 hands moved quickly over the controls. "Accessing Confederation military database," he muttered, cross-referencing human names. "Kim Nari, maintenance worker, cargo vessel." The device beeped softly. Dr. Kethver stared at the screen for a long moment. Then his whole body started shaking. "Impossible," he whispered. "What is impossible?" Captain Yoon asked. "Your maintenance worker? According to this database, she is dead, killed in action 3 years ago during the Proxima Colony siege." Dr. Suyang leaned closer. "What are you talking about?" Dr. Kethver turned the screen toward them. A military file appeared with a photo of Kim Nari, but this was not the quiet woman they knew. This Nari wore the black uniform of the Human Defense Corps' Special Operations Division. Her eyes were cold and hard. "Kim Nari, calcined ghost of Proxima," Dr. Kethver read from the file. "Credited with single-handedly breaking the Vorthek siege of Proxima Colony. Estimated enemy casualties, over 3,000 warriors. Status: killed in action during classified mission." The room became completely silent. Even the Vorthek warriors stopped moving. Commander Vexahol slowly turned toward the alien scientist. "What did you say?" "The ghost of Proxima," Dr. Kethver repeated. "She is supposed to be dead." The color drained from Vexahol's gray face. Every Vorthek warrior in the galaxy knew that name. It was used to frighten young soldiers. The human who could walk through walls and kill entire squads without being seen. "That is impossible," Vexahol said, but his voice was not sure anymore. "The ghost died years ago. This is just a cargo ship with weak humans." Above them, in the ventilation system, Nari heard every word. She smiled coldly. Her secret was out, but that was fine. She was tired of hiding anyway. She activated her wrist device and spoke into it quietly. Her voice was transmitted to every communication system on both ships. "Attention Vorthak vessels," she said calmly. "This is Kim Nari of the Human. Defense Corps, you have 30 seconds to release the prisoners and withdraw from human space. The effect was immediate. In the mess hall, the Vorthek warriors stepped backward. Their weapons shook in their hands. Commander Vexahol's 4 eyes went wide with terror. "Ghost," he whispered. 20 seconds, Nari's voice continued over the speakers. "I have already eliminated 16 of your warriors. Your boarding ships are rigged with explosives. Your main vessels are being targeted by weapons you cannot see." Captain Yoon stared at the ceiling in shock. The quiet woman who fixed his coffee maker was threatening an entire Vorthek fleet. "This is a trick," Vexel said, but he did not sound convinced. "She is bluffing." 10 seconds, Nari said. "Commander Vexahal, you have a choice. Leave now or join your warriors in death." "How does she know my name?" Vexahal asked in panic. 5 seconds. The Vorthek commander looked around the room desperately. His warriors were backing toward the exit. They had all heard the stories. The ghost of Proxima was not just a human soldier. She was death itself. 4. Wait, Vexel shouted. 3. We withdraw. We withdraw. 2. Please, ghost, we are leaving. 1. The explosion that followed shook both ships. One of the Vorthek boarding vessels attached to the Silent Dawn erupted in a ball of fire. The blast sent the remaining warriors flying across the mess hall. Commander Vexahal struggled to his feet, blood running from his mouth. "How?" he gasped. "I told you," Nari's voice said calmly. "Your ships are rigged with explosives. That was just a warning. The next one will destroy your main vessel." The Vorthek commander activated his communicator with shaking hands. "All ships, withdraw immediately. Full retreat." "But sir, the research data," came a voice from his fleet. "Forget the data," Vexel screamed. "The ghost is alive. We must leave now." As the Vorthek warriors ran for their remaining boarding ship, Captain Yoon looked up at the ceiling. "Nari?" he called out softly. "I am here, Captain," her voice replied. "Are you really the ghost of Proxima?" There was a long pause before she answered. "I was. Now I am just your maintenance worker again." But everyone in the room knew that was not true anymore. The ghost had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Vorthak fleet did not retreat far enough. Nari watched their ships on the Silent Dawn sensors. 3 vessels hung in space just outside weapon range, waiting. She knew what they were doing. Commander Vexahal was calling for reinforcements. "They are not leaving," she said over the ship's communication system. In the mess hall, Captain Yoon was trying to understand what his quiet maintenance worker had become. "What do we do now?" "We run," Dr. Suyang said. "Get as far away as possible before more Vorthek ships arrive." "Running will not work," Nari replied. Her voice came from speakers throughout the ship, but she was still hidden in the service tunnels. "They will follow us, hunt us down? Then what do you suggest?" asked Dr. Kethver. There was a long pause before Nari answered. "I suggest we end this problem permanently." Captain Yoon felt cold fear in his stomach. "You want to attack them?" "We're just a cargo ship." "No," Nari said quietly. "I'm not just a cargo ship. And they made a mistake by not running when I gave them the chance." She began moving through the ship, but this time everyone could hear her footsteps. She was no longer hiding. When she entered the mess hall, the crew stared at her in shock. She still looked like Kim Nari, the small maintenance worker. But everything about her had changed. The way she stood, the way she moved, the look in her dark eyes. This was not the woman who fixed coffee makers. "Captain," she said calmly, "I need you to do exactly what I tell you." "Can you do that?" You nodded without thinking. "Good. Take us toward the asteroid field near Kepler Station. Full speed." "The asteroid field?" Tiemann asked from his navigation station. "That place is dangerous. Ships get lost in there all the time." "Exactly," Nari said with a cold smile. As the Silent Dawn accelerated toward the asteroid field, Nari worked on the ship's systems. Her wrist device connected to every computer on the vessel. She turned their simple cargo ship into something much more dangerous. The food storage containers in the cargo bay became bombs. The water recycling system became a chemical weapon factory. The navigation sensors became targeting computers. "What are you doing to my ship?" Captain Yoon asked nervously. "Making it into something the Vorthik will never forget," Nari replied. The 3 enemy vessels followed them toward the asteroid field. Nari could see their formation on the sensors. They were being careful, staying just close enough to track the cargo ship. "Why are they not attacking?" asked Park Ji-won. "Because they want the research data intact," Dr. Kethver explained. "If they destroy us, they lose what they came for." "That is their first mistake," Nari said. The Silent Dawn entered the asteroid field at dangerous speed. Huge rocks floated all around them, some as big as buildings. Timon's hands shook as he piloted the ship between the obstacles. "Slow down," he begged. "We are going to hit something." "Trust me," Nari said. She had taken control of the navigation system through her wrist device. The ship moved through the asteroids like it was dancing. Behind them, the Vorthik ships followed more carefully. Their larger vessels had trouble navigating the tight spaces between rocks. "Perfect," Nari whispered. She activated the first trap. The food containers she had turned into bombs were floating in space behind them, hidden among the asteroids. When the lead Vorthik ship passed close to one, Nari triggered the explosion. The blast tore a huge hole in the enemy vessel's hull. Atmosphere vented into space in a bright stream. The ship spun out of control and crashed into a large asteroid. "One down," Nari said calmly. The remaining 2 Vorthak ships stopped their pursuit and began scanning for more traps. But Nari was already moving to the next phase of her plan. "Captain, bring us around asteroid 77 Alpha," she ordered. "How do you know the asteroid designations?" Yoon asked. "I memorized them 3 minutes ago." The Silent Dawn curved around a massive rock and disappeared from the enemy sensors. Nari used the brief moment of invisibility to launch the second part of her attack. She had modified their cargo loading system into a railgun. Instead of moving containers, it now fired chunks of metal at incredible speed. The improvised weapons struck the second Vorthak ship before they even knew they were under attack. The enemy vessel's shields flickered and failed. Emergency lights began flashing on its hull. 2 ships damaged, 1 destroyed, Nari reported. "The last ship is trying to escape." But she was not finished yet. The final Vorthik vessel tried to retreat from the asteroid field. Its captain had finally realized he was not fighting a cargo ship anymore. He was fighting the ghost of Proxima. Nari had saved the best trap for last. She had rigged the ship's waste disposal system to create a cloud of metallic particles. When released in the path of the fleeing Vorthak ship, the particles would be sucked into their engines. The enemy vessel's fusion drives failed spectacularly. Without power, the ship drifted helplessly into the asteroid field. "All 3 Vorthik ships neutralized," Nari announced. The crew of the Silent Dawn sat in stunned silence. In less than an hour, their maintenance worker had destroyed an entire enemy fleet using nothing but spare parts and cargo ship systems. "How?" Captain Yoon whispered. "Training," Nari replied simply, but then her expression became serious. "Captain, we have a new problem. I am detecting more ships approaching." "A lot more ships? On the sensors, new contacts were appearing?" "But these were not Vorthak vessels." "Confederation fleet," Dr. Kethver identified. 12 ships, military configuration. "And there," Timon pointed at his screen. "Human Defense Corps vessels. At least 6 of them." Nari closed her eyes. She had hoped to disappear again after dealing with the Vorthik, but her actions had been detected across subspace. Every major power in the galaxy now knew the ghost of Proxima was alive. "They are not coming to rescue us," she said quietly. "Then why are they coming?" asked Ji-won. Nari looked at her crewmates, these people who had accepted her as nobody special for 8 months. Now they would learn the truth about what she really was. "They are coming to control me," she said. "Or to kill me." The hunt was about to begin again, but this time Nari would be facing enemies who knew exactly who they were dealing with. 3 fleets surrounded the Silent Dawn in the asteroid field. The Confederation ships formed a defensive line to the north. Their white hulls gleamed in the starlight, weapons powered but not yet aimed. To the south, Human Defense Corps vessels waited in attack formation. Their black armor absorbed light like hungry shadows dot between them. Scattered Vorthok reinforcement ships had arrived too late to help their destroyed comrades. Now they faced a choice between retreat and revenge. Captain Yoon stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. 21 military ships, all because of one maintenance worker. I am not just a maintenance worker, Nari said quietly. She stood on the bridge now, no longer hiding in service tunnels. I never was. Communication requests flooded their system. Every fleet wanted to talk to the ghost of Proxima. Nari ignored them all and opened a channel to the entire area. This is Kim Nari to all vessels, she said calmly. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from this area. Anyone who remains will be considered hostile. The response was immediate. Admiral Lee Minho of the Human Defense Corps appeared on their main screen. He was an older man with gray hair and cold eyes. Agent Nari, he said formally, you are ordered to surrender yourself for debriefing. Your unauthorized actions have created a diplomatic crisis. I stopped a Vorthok attack on Confederation citizens, Nari replied. That used to be called doing my job. Your job ended 3 years ago when you went missing, the Admiral said. You are now considered a rogue operative. A second screen activated. This time it showed a Confederation Council member, an alien with blue skin and silver eyes. Ghost of Proxima, the alien said in perfect human language. The Confederation offers you sanctuary in exchange for your service. We have need of your skills. I am not for sale, Nari answered. A third transmission came from the Vorthok fleet. The speaker was a massive warrior with golden armor and ceremonial scars covering his face. Human ghost, he growled. I am war leader Caxthul. You have killed my warriors and destroyed my ships. I challenge you to single combat. Denied, Nari said without emotion. She closed all the communication channels and turned to her crew. I'm sorry you got involved in this. It was never supposed to happen. What are you going to do? Asked Park Ji-won. Nari looked at the people who had been her friends for 8 months. Captain Yoon, who treated her like furniture but never with cruelty. Timin, who called her fix girl but always said thank you. Ji-won, who tried to be kind even when Nari pushed her away. I am going to end this, she said. She activated her wrist device and began broadcasting on all frequencies. Every ship in the area would hear her words. More importantly, every communication relay in the sector would record them and send them across the galaxy. My name is Kim Nari, she began. Some of you know me as the Ghost of Proxima. For 3 years I have lived quietly as a maintenance worker on a cargo ship. I wanted nothing more than to be left alone. She paused and looked directly at the camera. But you would not let me have peace. The Vorthok attacked innocent researchers. The Confederation wants to use me as a weapon. The Defense Corps treats me like property that went missing. Her voice remained calm, but there was steel underneath. So I will make this clear to everyone listening. I am not your weapon. I am not your tool. I am not your enemy unless you make me one. She gestured to the destroyed Vorthok ships floating among the asteroids. Today, 3 Vorthok vessels attacked a civilian cargo ship. They threatened to enslave human beings and murder alien scientists. They learned what happens when you threaten innocent people in my presence. The fleets around them waited in tense silence. From this day forward, any ship that attacks human colonies or civilian vessels will face the same fate. Any government that tries to enslave or abuse sentient beings will find me in their shadows. Any military force that threatens the innocent will discover why they used to tell stories about the ghost of Proxima. She leaned closer to the camera. I am not asking for your permission. I'm telling you how things will be. Leave the innocent alone and you will never see me. Harm them and I will be the last thing you ever see. Admiral Minho's face appeared on screen again. Agent Nari, you cannot declare war on the entire galaxy. I am not declaring war, she replied calmly. I am declaring peace. Anyone who wants to break that peace can try. But they should remember what happened here today. She activated the Silent Dawn's engines. The cargo ship began moving toward the edge of the asteroid field. "You cannot just leave," the Confederation Council member protested. "There are procedures, treaties, diplomatic protocols." "I do not care about your politics," Nari said. "I care. About people like Dr. Suyang and Dr. Kethver, people like Captain Yoon and his crew, people who just want to live their lives without being hunted or enslaved or murdered." The Vorthek war leader appeared on screen one more time. "This is not over, Ghost. My empire will send 1,000 ships to hunt you," Nari smiled coldly. "Send 2,000. Send your entire fleet. But remember this moment when they do not come." Home, she cut all communications and focused on piloting the ship. The three fleets watched as the small cargo vessel moved between them. Nobody fired. Nobody tried to stop them. They were all too afraid. As the silent dawn cleared the asteroid field and prepared to jump to hyperspace, Captain Yoon sat down heavily in his chair. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we continue our delivery route," Nari said simply. "We take Dr. Suyang and Dr. Kethver to the nearest Confederation base. We pick up our next cargo load. We do our jobs." "But you just threatened the entire galaxy," Tiemann said in amazement. "I promised to protect innocent people," Nari corrected. "There is a difference." She looked at her crewmates one more time. "If any of you want to leave the ship, I understand. Being around me will be dangerous from now on." Captain Yoon was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated the ship's communication system. "This is Captain Yoon Daeho of the cargo vessel Silent Dawn," he announced to his crew. "We have the most dangerous woman in the galaxy fixing our coffee maker. Anyone who has a problem with it can find another ship." Nobody left. 6 months later, stories spread across known space about a cargo ship that appeared wherever civilians were in danger. Pirates learned to fear the name Silent Dawn. Slave traders whispered about the ghost, who walked between stars, but on the ship itself, life was quiet again. Kim Nari fixed broken systems and kept to herself. She was still nobody to most of the galaxy. She was just nobody with a very dangerous reputation, and in the dark spaces between worlds, that was exactly what the innocent needed.